Hey, Wagwan, welcome to the channel, man. This channel is all about childhood memories. Yeah, this is where I talk about my childhood memories and invite you to share you know, your experiences as it were back growing up in the 60s and maybe into the 70s and maybe beyond the 60s, beyond the 60s. So, if you're happening here for the first time, welcome. And today I want to talk about something traumatic that happened to me as a kid. Yeah. So, do you believe in ghosts? Do you believe that ghosts exist? Do you think that there are evil spirits around, walking around us? Are you from a culture where, or a place where when somebody dies, the person's spirit um, leave the body and walk around, wandering around, moving around the community and all that kind of stuff. In Jamaica and especially in the era, you know, that period of time when I was growing up as a kid, it was very common to hear that somebody's ghost was walking. Yes, it was very common, man, to hear that people say, so and so, you know, when I say so and so, I mean that person who died. We use the word so and so. That person, so and so, duppy a walk. hmm Yeah, but it was a very common thing to hear of ghosts walking around the village or the community. I personally have never seen a ghost. Never. I've never, you know, witnessed anything that looks like a ghost. I can tell you though that I have a cousin. He's younger than I am, and when he was growing up, I would say he was about, 3, 4, at the point where he could talk. Sometimes he would be at the front of the house or somewhere around the house, and he would be showing us people. Yeah, he would be pointing at people, and there's that he's pointing at that person over there or those people over there, and we we couldn't see them. But I heard it's because he was born with kind of a special gift. Some people have. From what I hear, I don't know how true that is. Some kids were born with a gift to be able to see ghosts. Whether that is true or not, I don't know. But all I can recall as a child that my little cousin would be pointing and showing us people around the house. People, somebody passing by the gate, and we'd be looking until thy kingdom come, and we never saw a soul. At least I couldn't. I think my grandfather had the ability to see ghosts, and other people, especially the older generation back then, they could see Duppy Boy. They could really see them. But I never saw one. And so I don't know. What do you think? Do you think that ghosts are for real? Have you ever seen one? Anyway, that's not the subject of conversation today. This is a traumatic experience I had with a ghost. Like I said, I never seen the ghost, but so back in those days, and I think up to this point, depending on where people live in Jamaica, you can bury your dead at home. Most homes um, in the community where I grew up had what was called a family plot, right? So over the years and years and years, you know, as someone died in the family, they would be buried in the family plot, right? So in my village, I can recall most homes had a family plot. In 2016, when my grandmother passed away, I went home to take care of the funeral. She was buried in the family plot, right? So the family plot is still used in Jamaica today. It's 2021 now, but I understand it's not authorized based on certain geographical areas. If depending on where you live, if you're living in a city or close to a city, you will have to use a government or a government a proper cemetery, so to speak, right? But most homes in my community, and I'm assuming many places in Jamaica had a cemetery or a family plot on their property, right? So that was the case. That was how it was in my case. So I recall as a kid, growing up, even as young teenagers, we we would gather, we would go sit in a family place, sit on the tombs and all of that. Um, I recall I can recall some of my friends, neighbors who um, we used to hang out, especially during the summer months, hang out together and do all kind of mischievous stuff. Sometimes we'd be eating jackfruit and all those kind of stuff, and we would just sit in the in any family plot, sit on the tomb, sit on the tombs and eat jack. We never had any fear that we were going to be struck by a ghost or anything like that. But I mean, those things happen. Those things I've heard, you know, those things happened. And that was what happened to me. So, so when I was about, I can't recall how young I was, if I was about 5 or 6 yet. Um, but I remember clearly though, I left the house and I wandered out to the family plot. I don't know what was going through my head. Then I sat on one of the tomb. I sat on one of the tomb and I proceeded to dig to create some dig up some patterns on the two on that tomb. Now, trust me, man. After that, after I did that, I don't know what happened. I really don't know. All I can recall was that my parents said they couldn't find me. When they came by, they start looking around for me. When they um, came by the family plot, there I was looking as if I was gonna die. Yeah, I was like I was gonna die. Um, I was on the verge of death, right? It's a good thing that my grandfather, he was at home. Good thing he was at home. And I can recall in the bedroom, in my grandfather's bedroom, right? He had this old kind of leather bag. And as a kid, I would sneak and look in this bag all sometimes. And in this bag I would see these little vials, these little bottles of oils, right? Um, I can't recall for what reason, or I don't know for what those oils were used for, but I knew they were used to rub you up in case for whatever reason. So good thing he was at home. He was the one who who brought me back to life, so to speak, using one of those same oils that he had in his bag. To be honest, as I when I became an adult, well, I became age 20. I had my first full time job. Part of my job was to visit pharmacies, my job description required that I visit pharmacies, and I can recall going to this pharmacy where they sold a lot of these oils, and I was so skeptical of them. The oil of dead man bone oil, oil of this and oil of that, and oil of long life, and oil of all, man, name the oil. The pharmacy sold it, but many of them were centered around evil spirits. Yeah, looking back now, my grandfather had some of those oils in his bag, and trust me, if he never had the oil to rub me up, as they would say, they use it to rub you up, you know. That was what he used to bring me back to life, because apparently, when I went into that cemetery, family plot, as it's called nowadays, I was struck by a ghost. Yeah, real bad. I was struck by an evil spirit, and I almost died. And if he was not home and had some of those oils in the house for those purposes, I wouldn't be around today. I don't think I would be around to tell the tale. So I don't know what you think. You might be skeptical. You know, I really think that evil spirits exist. I mean, the Bible talk about evil spirits. You know, but do you think? Have you ever seen a ghost? Have you ever encountered a ghost? Have you ever had a close encounter with a ghost? Have you ever had an experience similar to what I had? You know, that's the question I'm asking today. So tell you what, in the comments below, let me hear from you. What are some of the traditions and the superstitions and the rituals that may have existed, in your time, in your country, when you were growing up, you know, that people used to use to, for whatever medicinal purposes or for spiritual purposes. Have you ever been struck by a ghost? Yeah, so leave some comment in the comment section below. And this, if these topics are something that are of interest to you, talking about childhood memories, that is, if these topics are somewhere, are things that are of interest to you, subscribe to the channel, because I have a lot to talk about, a whole lot of stuff to talk about, growing up as a kid back then. All right, so until such time, take care of yourself and stay safe. Okay, cool.